This is the Conrad Alert. Civil defense information will be broadcast at 6:40.
West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Y2K, how can we prepare?
Stop a few of their machines and radios. Throw them into darkness for a few hours.
We are fighting for our lives. My family must survive.
Over 5 years, 1,000 gallons of gas, air filtration, water filtration.
Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada. Streaming live on only YouTube this evening. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim. Today is, wow, lost the date there on you guys. We were doing really good. August the 8th, 2024, and this is episode 463 of Workshop Radio. How the hell is everyone out there? So far, I see Digger in here and Cormac Harkin. Great to have you both in here. Can't wait to see the whole crew who shows up. Fall is in the air. I know, nowhere else except for here in Alberta. I can never remember which tree it is. I believe it's the elm tree, but we already have seen a few leaves falling off them. They turn yellow and fall off even when temperatures drop by like a degree or two. It's like they get so scared they just drop straight off the tree. So there's that. And today just never got as hot as it's been. So this is always the time, the first week in August. And I know you're probably like, it's 142 degrees Fahrenheit in Texas and Tennessee right now. Yeah, I know. It's the craziness that is East Central Alberta. Well, no, it's the craziness that is the North, period. So anyhow, let's get slid right into this evening's show. We're going to open up with another rule to live by. Put that into the old random number generator this week. And what did we come back with? But rule number 10. This is one that only comes with age, experience, screwing up, but it's pretty simple. And that is rule number 10. Problems always seem worse the first time you have to deal with them. And this is one of those things, again, that we had to learn as we went along. We had to learn, okay, so you just went to back out of Home Hardware and your tie rod broke right off and you don't have enough money to fix it. But guess what? You can't crawl in a hole. You can't, go to sleep and not wake. Oh, I mean, I guess you could, but that wouldn't be good now, would it? Another time, the septic system clogs off when you have babies at home. Well, guess what? It seems horrible. You think, I'll never be able to deal with anything. I'll never have to deal with anything any worse than this. Well, I promise you, that's not true. All of a sudden you realize, guess what? As life goes on, I can handle this shit. It might be bad. It might be tough, but you can absolutely handle it. And then you have kids and your kids move out and all of a sudden they call you up and they're like, Dad, my phone bill, my internet bill, my rent, my insurance, my car payment, they're all due this week and I have $12. Yep, you're right. That's okay though, because you'll handle it. You make it through. But the first time something hits you, boy, does it ever feel like a ton of bricks, hey? And then all of a sudden, okay, I can make it through this. Last evening, I was watching this video, some stupid clickbaity thing, but the channel scares the hell out of me and I love it. It was like 8 creepiest things ever seen on dash cam. And there was a dad and he was in a car with his son and they were in a national park somewhere down in the States and they got the evacuation notice too late to get out. So they started leaving and they drove right into a forest fire. And the son is kind of losing his ever-loving mind. He's a little bit scared. And he says, but Dad, I can't keep going forward. And the dad's calm and cool as a cucumber. He says, you can do it. We can make it through. And he says, what happens if the car blows up? And the dad, he's like, well, I guess we die then. I was like, oh my goodness. But anyway, it was kind of funny. The guy was just, maybe a little too brutally honest for the situation, but he talked his son all the way through it. They get almost through the end of the fire. They come along a log and the dad's like, well, I'm getting gloves on. I'm going to go out and move this burning tree. And the son's like, I don't think you are. Anyway, they end up having to back the whole way they came, 2 or 3 miles back through the fire. They get out on foot. They flee to a near body of water. They end up finding a park ranger who has a canoe there and takes them to safety. But what an incredible story. I just wanted to share that. It was such a chuckle, the dad. It wasn't on, I don't think he meant it on purpose, but it, was what it was. So over in the Telegram group, going to shout out to Herschel and Norman. I miss you guys. Can't wait to see you. And Yosick just posted a very apt meme because I did just recently see Deadpool, and there's a picture of Deadpool with Milwaukee on his sweater, and then you got Wolverine next to him with DeWalt. Those colors are perfect. That made my night, guys. So it's good to see you. All right, let's slide into this evening. Let's have a little bit of fun here. How about that?
If anyone dies while you are kept in your fallout room, move the body to another room in the house.
The time has come for Stranger Than Fiction. All right, so we have Stranger Than Fiction, and for those who are new here, who don't know exactly what that is, well, it's just our weekly look at the news, some of the odd things, the crazy, the curious, the contemplative. Man, what three big, well, semi-big C words there all at once. I know a shorter C word that I'm not allowed to say on here, and I'm not going to say it. So there we are. All right, so this one is a story from a long time ago, but I happened to run across this in another one of those videos I was watching this week, and I thought, you know what? This would be a cool story to share. Some of you have probably heard it before. Some of you hadn't, but the dude was definitely a survivor. The dude was definitely a prepper in his own sense. So let's dive into this. This is the story of the Maine hermit, and he ended up getting a little... We'll talk about his name as we go along here, but this is the strange and curious tale of the last true hermit. And this came from GQ magazine, but there are thousands of sources about this story. I'll read you the opening paragraph here to kind of set the setting for what's going on. The hermit set out of camp at midnight, carrying his backpack and his bag of break-in tools. And as he threaded through the forest, rock to root to rock, every step memorized, not a boot print left behind. It was cold. It was nearly moonless, a fine night for a raid. So we hiked about an hour to the Pine Tree Summer Camp, a few dozen cabins spread along the shoreline of North Pond in central Maine. With an expert twist of a screwdriver, he popped open the door to the dining room hall. He slipped inside, scanning the pantry shelves with his penlight. Candy, always good. 10 rolls of Smarties, stuffed in a pocket. Then into his backpack, a bag of marshmallows, 2 tubs of ground coffee, some Humpty Dumpty potato chips, and burgers and bacon were in the locked freezer. So this is how this dude survived in the woods in Maine, saying since the Chernobyl disaster. And he was finally caught in the aughts, the 2000 aughts, I guess you would call it. So let's slide in. Night, this is the dude, the hermit. He stated that over the years, he slept only in a tent. He never lit a fire for fear the smoke would give his camp away. It sounds like he may have had a bit of a mental break around that time. He was kind of scared that the world was going to hell in a handbasket. I mean, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but either way. So he decided to move into the cold northern Maine woods. And he said, here's the story. He kind of became a local folk hero, kind of like, you're like, oh, is that really an urban legend? Does this guy really exist, or what's going on? He confessed that he committed approximately 40 robberies a year while in the woods, a total of more than 1,000 break-ins, but never when anyone was home. He said he only stole food, kitchenware, propane tanks, and reading material, and a few other items. Knight admitted that everything he possessed in the world he'd stolen, including the clothes he was wearing, right down to his underwear. The only exception were his eyeglasses. So he lived in the woods for well over 2 decades, and those eyeglasses held up. Now, if you guys have ever seen that classic episode of The Twilight Zone, dude couldn't hold on to a pair of glasses for 5 minutes, let alone 2 decades. So whoever made his glasses should probably hire him as a spokesperson, because that's incredible. Here we are. And Palm Tree over on the Telegram group says, it was exciting for a minute. I thought you'd be talking about Hermit Island. Not yet, but if there's something interesting there, I can definitely talk about it on a future episode. I wouldn't mind that at all. So for close to 3 decades, Knight said he'd not seen a doctor or taken any medicine. He mentioned that he'd never been sick even once. He said you have to come into contact with other humans, he claimed, in order to get sick. News of the capture of the citizens of North Pond stunned them. For decades, they'd felt haunted by something. It was hard to say what. At first, in the late 1980s, there were strange occurrences. Flashlights were missing their batteries. And then he said steaks disappeared from the fridge. New propane tanks were exchanged for old ones. You could almost call him a polite thief now, couldn't you? My grandkids thought I was losing my mind, said David Pro, whose vacation cabin was broken into at least 50 times. These guys, the locals, must have thought that it was some sort of, I don't know, like organized crime. I don't even know. Then people began noticing other things. Wood shavings near window locks, scratches on door frames. Was it a neighbor? A gang of teenagers? The robberies continued. Boats, boat batteries, frying pans, winter jackets. The interesting thing about this dude, and I mean, everything he did was based on survival, but there's some neat lessons in here about, post-apocalyptic scrounging. Not really that, but just, he only took what he needed to survive. Yes, he was breaking in. Yes, it was robbery. None of those were good things, but he was fairly considerate in all things considered. He never did any, undue damage. He never went when people were there. He never threatened anybody. As a matter of fact, between the time the Chernobyl disaster happened, he moved into the woods, and the time he was caught in the early 2000s, he spoke a single syllable. One time he accidentally ran into a hiker in the woods. He looked at him quick and he said, "Hi," and he walked on. That was the extent. He said he didn't even talk to himself for fear of getting caught. This dude had operational security down to a T. He did really, really well. So in 2002, incidents mounted and the Phantom morphed into legend. Eventually, he was given a name, the North Pond Hermit. At a homeowners meeting in 2002, there was 100 people present. And out of those 100, 75 of them had been burglared at least once. One kid recalled that when he was 10 years old, all of his Halloween candy was stolen. Poor kiddo. And at that meeting, the kid today, when this was written, was 34. So for 24 years, he lived with the legacy of stealing some poor kid's candy. So this dude moved into the woods. So long story short, I'm not going to read the whole article because that would be plagiarism. I'm going to, bring it up here and kind of put it into my own words. But basically what happened, the dude lived off the land, was scared to death, stayed through the winters in Maine without any source of heat, stole food, stole coffee, would have been absolutely incredible to him, I'm sure. And eventually a cop said, there has to be something going on here. It only took him 24 years to figure it out. So he set up what they called military grade motion sensors into this one cabin's area, one of these the kid camp's place. The guy went in, he had stolen a key to the freezer, stole some bacon, stole some burgers. That triggered an alarm that the guy didn't know, and eventually the cop showed up and caught him. It was the first time he'd touched or spoken to a human. They said it was the first time he'd slept indoors in 10,000 nights. I hope I got my math right, but that's what they said in the article I read earlier. So the guy, I think he ended up spending a year in jail. They let him out, and he promptly disappeared into the woods somewhere else. They don't know where he is, what happened to him, at least in the story I read. So the guy had the principles of preparedness down, even if his, even if where he came from, maybe the way he did it wasn't perfect. So kind of an interesting dude. If you want to read more about it, and they ended up calling him where is it here? Something Pond Hermit. He was I'll never find it now. Well, I have you guys live here, but confessed he committed approximately. Yeah. Anyway, so he was the hermit. Just type in the Maine Hermit, M-A-I-N-E Hermit. That's what I typed in. And he's just a really cool story. I felt bad for the guy because he just wanted to be left the hell alone. And eventually some meddling cop, no, not really. Some cop ended up catching him. So there's that. All right. Story number 2. We only have 2 stories in the Stranger Than Fiction section this evening, and I just want to shout out, we got Beth Emily in here. Great to see you. Said cool story. Yeah, I like that story. I always love finding these fun ones for you. And we got Loco, the Filipino nomad. Good to have you in here. Great to see you, actually. I've seen commenting on a couple of the community posts I've been doing on YouTube lately, so it's been good. All right, next. This one is just an informational piece. I don't want it to inspire fear or anything like that. This is similar to reading like the EMP report from Congress or that sort of thing. So here we go. War games show, anyway, that the U.S. could burn through its ammo in as few as 3 to 4 weeks in a protracted war with China, Commission warns. A new formal review warned that U.S. munitions may last only a few weeks in a war with China. Some important weapons like anti-ship missiles may only last a few days. The 114-page report published on Monday by a bipartisan commission said that the U.S. is unprepared for a sustained conflict with China or Russia, much less both at the same time. Now, I'm just going to say, if the U.S. military reached out to their citizens, I bet they could be armed for a lot longer period than that. So either they expect to go through a metric shit ton, actually it'd be an imperial shit ton because it's the U.S. military, unless they were looking to go through an imperial shit ton of ammunition in the first few days. Man, they must be expecting to. But either way, this report basically says that within a very short period of time, with less than a month, in a protracted war with China, the U.S. would run out of ammunition. Now, I'm sure they could ramp up supply and things, kind of similar to they did with COVID and the masks and the hand sanitizer and all that BS. But they also said that they definitely wouldn't want to be fighting a war on two fronts, Russia and China, neither of which would be good. But this was an interesting thought. I don't know what everybody else's thoughts are on it, but if you guys think that's about legitimate, especially from some ex-service folks out there who might have an idea. But yeah, so 3 to 4 weeks out of ammo. Whew, I don't like that. But anyway, all right, we got an announcement for you this evening. And actually, it's kind of interesting that I can mention it as we go along here. But we, I know I've mentioned it in passing. I don't know if I've made it official on here yet. But with October coming around the corner, we have Self-Reliance Festival coming up. Becky and I and the twins will be at Self-Reliance Festival. But also, we are going to be having a couple of work days at the Delinquent's Gully. So if you've been there before, you're welcome back. If you haven't been there before, we'd love to see you. So here's what we're doing. We make sure I get the schedule right here for you for a bit. But we are having, so Saturday and Sunday is Self-Reliance Festival. Friday always tended to be a wash. I never need to show up there to set up or anything anyway. So what we decided to do was we're going to do 2 work days out at Delinquent's Gully. Now, hang on. I'll fill you in on what that actually means. But we're doing a Wednesday work day, a Thursday work day, and then a Friday social. Now, all 3 days will be socials, so that won't be a problem. But if you're interested in coming, or if you're like, hey, maybe I'll make it, then what you can do, and what I'd love for you to do, is to sign up and join the Telegram group. The link is in the description this evening, and I will pull it out of the comments here in a little bit, and I will put it into the comments for you guys. But either way, we're going to have a great time. We had a hell of a time last year when we did it. Becky and I, so the food will all be provided while you're there, and we're just going to kind of work. We're going to have a hell of a time. We'll sit around, we'll chat in the evenings. We'll have a good time. There'll be plenty of room for you to camp, so show up. Depending on the shape of the road, if you don't have 4-wheel drive, we'll probably park you out at the end of the road at Jamie's place, and then we'll shuttle you in. If you do have 4-wheel drive, I mean, it's not that bad. My neighbors that live further down the road actually drive 2 Mustangs in and out all the time. So, I mean, if they can do it, you can do it, but I wouldn't expect you to. So it's going to be a fun time. We've got a bunch of projects that we're looking to kind of do. We're going to build an 8x8 cabin again. There's been some talk, and none of this is for sure yet, but we're going to be like a compost tea, one of those fancy compost tea aerator machines that Brian talked to me about earlier today. Maybe some mushroom logs. We're looking at building a dam, all kinds of different projects. And the cool thing is there'll be things for every kind of workability. So if you're comfortable handling heavy machinery, great. And if you're comfortable not doing that, also cool. And yeah, so just want you to show up, join some fellow delinquents, have a hell of a time. And yeah, it's going to be a good time. I can't wait to see you. We had, let me see, 4 people join this evening, I think. I think Brian must have sent it out, but we got Donald, Herschel, and Hawkins all joined the group. So we have 29 people in the possible workday group right now. So I can't wait to see you guys. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, so good enough. Loco says, I've been working on my health lately. Common Sense Labs results are in. So got to find out what's really going on. Well, I'm definitely thinking about you, brother. I know we're a long ways away, kind of, separated by the Pacific Ocean, but I'll definitely be thinking about you. Perfect. Okay. So, and Herschel says they'll be there for one day. Can't wait to see you guys. Absolutely. All right. So what do we got next? That's the announcement. We got, so just to make sure, food forest, guild installs, mushroom log inoculation, and a few other possible projects we got coming up. All right. Next, we have the Prepper Files. Or as we like to say, on this date, these interesting things happened. August 5th. So I like to take the whole week because we're only doing one show a week now. August 5th, 1861, Lincoln signed the first personal income tax. Boo! Sorry, into law. It levied 3% of income over $800. Imagine that. 3% of your entire income if you made $800 or more. And I thought everybody liked Lincoln. But anyway, turns out he was the first person to levy any sort of income tax in the United States. 1 year ago today was the Maui wildfires. No matter where you stand on what caused them, why they happened, why they could happen more often, either way, that would have been a scary as hell situation to be in as a citizen of one of the Hawaiian islands. So we got to remember that. And then the most interesting fact, the closest tie to preparedness, I would say, was on August 8th, 1786. Anybody know what Congress chose to bring in? 1786, Congress unanimously chose the dollar as the monetary unit for the United States. And from that day forward, started devaluing it. But I digress. Anyhow, there you go. All right. Next up, we have...
He's dead. They're all dead. Everyone. You and I are in a dead world. And I'm glad it's dead. Cheap, honky-tonk of a world.
Coming up next is Workshop Wasteland. All right, this is where we take a look at all things post-apocalyptic, dystopian, and collapse-related fiction, movies, music, games, the works. Not a whole lot this week, but I had 3 little bites I wanted to share with you. Number 1, in another life, I probably would be a heavy video gamer. If I was born 20 years later, I'd probably still be playing video games. I loved video games in the 80s, Mario World, Mario Kart, all things Mario. But anyway, no, I digress. However, games are great today, but they're also a huge taker of time, which is a resource that I lack in most occasions. So anyway, if for any of those who are video game addicts out there or, avid aficionados, this one looked pretty cool. Spooky looking Quiet Place game launching in October. A Quiet Place, The Road Ahead looks scary and is arriving just in time for Halloween later this year. I'm going to back up a little bit. I'm going to say that the Quiet Place franchise seems to be going the way of Walking Dead. Many different spin-offs into various mediums. This game looks okay. For the price of it, it looks about what the price should be, about $30 US. The graphics aren't great, but it's calling for a lot of intense gameplay. And the aliens that have the mouth that kind of hear whatever they happen to be, they look pretty effective in this. If you want to check out the trailer, again, the links to everything I talk about tonight are in the show notes. So yeah, looks kind of interesting. This is a screen capture here. The YouTube has the trailer, and right here. First announced in 2021, A Quiet Place, The Road Ahead is an upcoming single-player survival horror game. Announced 3 years ago. Imagine that. Publisher Saber describes it as a story-driven adventure. The game is set in the same universe as the popular horror film series, but it stars a new character, Alex, an asthmatic college student surviving in the post-apocalyptic hellscape. So it has its possibilities, kind of rehashing a bit of what they did in story number 1, but this sounds like it'll be a college student by themselves. Could be kind of fun. I don't know. We'll see. I'd love to hear somebody's thoughts on it, and it is launching October 17th for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, and it'll cost you 30 big ones. Off-grid ping, your ears must be burning. We were just talking about you. Actually, we were just talking about people parking at your place and then shuttling them in. I probably should have, talked to you about that first, but I hope you're okay with it. No, anyway, it's great to see you. If you guys want to see an incredible project that one of our delinquents is working on at the moment, Off-Grid Ping, his name is Jamie. He's the first neighbor I met on the road, actually, which is where Delinquent's Gully happens to be, and it's Ruby Lane, not to be confused with Ruby Ridge, of course, and not to be confused with Uncle Ted's cabin, but he is building an incredible pond by his place, and I can't wait to see the finished product. Rachel Brown, great to see you. Byron Roberts, also great to see you guys. All kinds of good names in here this evening. Always good to see you. All right, so that's the first piece of Workshop Wasteland. Let's slide into number 2. And that brings us to The Last of Us Season 2. Here we are. The Last of Us Season 2 trailer reveals Abby, Dinah, and a rampaging Ellie. Not much to see, not much to say. Just want to let you know that if you're hungry for a taste of The Last of Us, there was a 30-second trailer that shows almost nothing. But it's good. It's there. And they're figuring maybe January of next year. In case you're wondering, I'm not super excited knowing what happens in the book without giving you any spoilers. But yeah, there you go. Next, Byron Roberts says, Uncle Tim's cabin on Ruby Ridge. Yeah, well, you know, to go along with the Killdozer shirt I'm wearing this evening, tread on those who tread on you. Amen, brother. There we are. David Hosfeld. Good. Did I get that right? Yep. Good to see you. Says, hello, Tim. Glad to catch a live with you. I'm glad you came in, and I'm glad to catch a live with you, sir. And Rachel, once again, Rachel always comes in and starts throwing the slaps around. She says, half of you didn't hit the like button. Slap it like he owes you money. There you go. I added that second part, but I'm sure Rachel meant it in spirit. All right. And finally, when we went to see, I believe it was Deadpool, and it may have been The Last of Us Part 17, whatever it was. I'm not really sure. Either way, I saw a trailer for a new movie called Bando Stone in the New World. Could be kind of interesting. It's got Donald Glover in it, who you may know from Community or Atlanta, if you like prestige television. I really enjoy his comedy and his acting style. But this is a bit of a refreshing take on the post-apocalyptic vibe. So Bando Stone is your typical can't do anything for myself, big Hollywood musician type. He's asked in the trailer, can you hunt? No. Can you fish? No. Can you fight? No. Can you run? Not really. I can sing. So this whole idea, the entire concept of the movie, of course, is going to be a comedy. So check the trailer out if you want. But it says Donald Glover as Bando Stone, a famous musician navigating a world empty of people. He meets a woman and her child, and together they journey through a dystopian post-apocalyptic world. Looks a lot of fun. It actually could be fun. It looks like the type of movie that doesn't take itself too serious. Kind of like the one that, what was it? Jonah Hill, Seth Rogen did. This is the end. You know, that kind of thing. But hopefully with less dick jokes, I guess. I don't know. But I do like Donald Glover. I appreciate his choices. He's really big into Spider-Man and Venom and that sort of thing. I think he even did some of the voices in the Spider-Verse animated movie. So just there. So, and Chris Dixon, good to see you, brother. I was thinking about you today. He sent me a meme the other night that made me laugh out loud. I always appreciate it when people send me memes, especially late at night to make me laugh. And Rachel Brown says, I was just typing, slap it like it owes you money. Need the emoji. See, when I'm live, I get the ability to say it ahead of you. That's all. So good to see you folks in here. So yeah, anyway, if you want to see a funny trailer, check it out. He's definitely your kind of useless artistic style person who is kind of the opposite of Will Smith in I Am Legend and with comedy. So there you go. All right. What do we have next for you this week, folks?
Now you stay on the back roads and you keep your gun handy. Our country is still full of thieving, murdering patriots.
Get ready for I Read It on the Internet. All right, guys, this is where we take a look at our preppers over on Reddit, the front page of the internet. And if this is something you're interested in, you can always go over and join r/preppers. But really what it is a place where a bunch of conservative, and I don't mean politically, yeah, they chat and they share stories. And I really like most of the practical advice that they give. So today, since the news was a little bit of a quiet news week, I'm going to say I decided to pick two really good Reddit posts. This is where we look at the top Reddit posts in our preppers for the week. This was a good one. This one's a little scary. I wouldn't say it hits close to home because I don't live in the earthquake country, but here you go. This is from Low Travel 1421, my real life story as an earthquake survivor, hoping that it might come in handy for someone else out there. And I hope it does. That night, the night the 7.5 earthquake happened, I was asleep. It was 4:30. First, I woke up from my sleep. Didn't know why I woke up. Chandelier in my room was shaking incredibly, but I was still struggling to understand what was going on. Since the possibility of the earthquake never crossed my mind before, suddenly I realized the earthquake was happening. I screamed to wake my brothers. They were still asleep despite the earthquake shaking the entire 12-story apartment like a wooden matchstick. I tried running to the main door thinking that I might go out and save myself, but it was impossible because I could barely stand up. The shaking was so intense. The earthquake was already over before I even got out the door. Now, I'm just going to say, if anybody out there's ever experienced an earthquake, I have not. I think it would scare the living shit out of me, pardon my French. They continue. Majority of the buildings were still upright, undamaged, but there were also a lot collapsed, mostly the older ones. The aftermath. Here's some things you might not think about. When the earthquake was over, as you would expect, every single person went outside because of the possibility of their building collapsing. Most didn't collapse during the earthquake, they collapsed afterwards. And to add insult to injury, the night was very cold and snowy, minus 15 Celsius, which would be around 0 Fahrenheit, I'm guessing. Everyone outside was in their cars, if they had one, trying to stay warm using their car's heater. They quickly burned all the fuel anyone has in their car tanks, and everyone rushed to the gas station to refill. Again, yep, I know. Yep, you guessed it right. The lines at the gas station were around kilometers long, or divide that by 1.6 and you have miles long. No, sorry, multiply by 1.6 and you have miles long. Almost half the people waited in line could not get any gas. Again, then people rushed to the grocery stores to eat something. And you guessed right, there were huge lines and stores ran out of food. Most people were hungry and thirsty for 8 hours straight until the afternoon. If that was bad enough, but there was more. Second earthquake. Even if some thought it was safe to go back into their homes, it wasn't. Because after a strong earthquake like the one I experienced, there was a second one close behind. And yep, it happened almost with the same intensity, causing hundreds of buildings, to collapse with people in it, causing more damage than the first one. I was at home during the second one too. I'm lucky to be alive. The building didn't collapse and I rushed outside again. This time it was absolute hell. There were fires because in some buildings, the pipes, the natural gas pipes, had exploded. There were people under the rubble screaming out in pain. I could hear all that, and I even saw one kid completely crushed. The internet, the electricity, completely non-functional. You couldn't even call for help if you wanted to. So that was the scary story behind it, and then they shared some lessons. But I just wanted to shout out Bay State Prepper. Great to see you. Said, hey, Tim, happy to catch you live. I really like the new vignettes between segments. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Bay State. And I do have more in the works because I have more segments now than I have vignettes. So don't worry, there'll be more coming as time goes on. But Rebecca from Red Flyer Media helped design. I started them and she polished them up for me. She did my total new intro and outros, which I love. Thank you, Rebecca. All right. So the lessons for anybody who may happen to be in a 7.5 earthquake or less. And it's the same advice that all preppers give because it's universal and it works. Always have a bottle of water and some stuff to eat. Clothes in a bag next to your bed so you can pick it up and leave on a moment's notice. 2, never ever go back into your house after an earthquake until the secondary earthquakes are over. Phone, electricity, internet will collapse if anyone tries to use it at the exact same time. You will not be able to use any of these in times of chaos. Have a sat phone and determine a place where you will go to and meet with your family members in case of chaos. I'm going to throw this in here for a bit, but if it hasn't, I've seen it on my phone a couple of times now. If you happen to have an iPhone, they now have satellite messaging built in. So if you're in an area without service, they're going to automatically forward it using satellites, which I love. So there is a bit of satellite functionality built into the newer iPhone. So there's that. Love Apple or hate them, they do some incredible things. Rarely. Have gas and a generator somewhere to use when the grid goes down. If possible, don't live in an apartment. Live in a single floor home. I mean, you can't change where you live simply because you might be afraid of an earthquake, at least not right away, but it is something to think about. Have cash with you. The online payment systems die. No one accepts anything but cash. We got to experience that 2 years ago when the big Rogers outage happened up here in Canada. The common guidelines during an earthquake, such as stand down next to a thick object or hide under a table, are completely useless. If the building collapses, you'll be crushed no matter what. Instead, if you can, try to leave the building as fast as you can. Interesting. So Chris Dixon says, funny, we just renewed our insurance and they insisted we buy earthquake insurance here in Alberta. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a possibility. If anybody knows the YouTuber CoffeeZilla, I've kind of fallen in love with his stuff the last few months. He's a guy that goes out and unveils scams. He kind of, opens the books on them. And he most recently went after Logan Paul. Logan Paul's suing him. Not talking about that, but CoffeeZilla, who is up on being scammed, was recently, quote unquote, scammed by his insurance company. He went through a broker who he told what his needs were for the insurance. He had insurance for many years, and it was basically if somebody sues you for defamation, this insurance would cover you up to $1 million. He had it for a few years. The insurance company he was with decided to stop offering that coverage. He went back to his broker and said, hey, I need similar coverage. Can you find it? The guy took him some time. He came back and said, yep, I found it for you. You're good. CoffeeZilla paid into it for over 3 years and finally called them up the other day and said, hey, it's time for me to use this. I'm being sued by Logan Paul. I'm going to need this $1 million worth of coverage. They're like, oh, we don't cover you for that anymore. And he's like, what do you mean? They said, we never covered you from the day they got it. So somebody somewhere completely dropped the ball, whether it was on CoffeeZilla himself for not looking over the fine print, whether it was his broker or the person that sold it to him, or the insurance company who out and out lied to them. But either way, man, if you are getting insurance for a very specific reason, you want to make sure that you're covered. Simple as that. All right. Hey, Loco, Filipino Nomad says the U.S. dollar comes from the Spanish silver, dollar, or dollar, pieces of 8 or bits, hence 2 bits a dollar, becoming U.S. quarter, silver dollar, or silver quarters. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. And if you ever want to see something truly confusing, watch a video on the British coinage system pre-1980 something when they completely revamped it. It is so confusing, bits and crap. I won't even pretend to try to remember, but I watched a video a while back on it. It was very interesting, and I don't know how they survived. So, all right. Second story I read it on the internet. I like this one too. This one's a little shorter. This is a guy getting carried away. I'm going to guess probably a new prepper. At first you think you know what he's talking about, and then at the end you're like, oh, okay. Anyway, here we are. This is from Apocalypse Warrior. $100 to prep for war. What should I buy? Well, hang on there. I'm getting worried about everything in the Middle East. I'm particularly prepping for World War III. What should I think about getting outside of food and water? Money is tight right now. Thanks. Well, the first thing I would do is stop watching the Canadian Prepper. Oh, man, I said that out loud. Anyhow, there we are. Just don't listen to all the doom and gloom, guys. But either way, here are the pieces of advice given to him from the community. And then we're going to have a little conversation point at the end here. First user Birdbone FPV says, buy some beer and wine and invite your neighbors over for a barbecue. A good relationship with your neighbors will be far more valuable than $100 worth of beans or bullets when the SHTF, the shit hits the fan. And I thought, what great practical advice. $100 ain't going to do you nothing. But having a little get together with your neighbors could be invaluable. I really like that. Then Sunbeam Soft Glass said, exit strategy should be your first plan. Can you go anywhere in an emergency? Save that $100 for travel expenses. Also very, very practical. Then this one here was very curt and to the point. There isn't anything that you can get right now for $100 that would save you should a war or disaster happen. The best low-cost preps for less than $100 would be these: water filter, basic camp cooking set, a knife, a camp axe, and a saw. But for the future, identify the area that your preps are most lacking. Or if you've not started yet, prioritize in this order: water, food, security, shelter, gears and tools, electricity. Start small, build them up. A few bucks a week turns into some pretty good stockpiles over a few years. Chris Dixon says, does $100 get you anywhere? Well, it certainly won't get you to Walmart or Costco. It might get me to Lloydminster and back, which is an hour and a half. Well, man, by the way gas keeps going up, it was $1.63 a liter here the other day. Whew. Anyway, so scroll down just a little bit further, and the Potsy said OP. And if you don't know OP, that terminology is for original poster. It's just shorthand for responding to the person that you're speaking with. You're from the U.S.A. The issues in the Middle East should be very low on your prep concerns. And I like that. So a lot of times people are like, okay, is this dude like losing his mind a little bit? Or is he getting carried away? Or does he legit? Because his post read like, I live in the Middle East. I need to get the hell out if a war breaks out. Nope, turns out the dude's from the U.S. So he's probably needing to be talked down off the ledge a little bit. And that happens. I ran into a lady last year at prepper camp who needed to be talked down on the ledge. You know, the baby preppers who are scared shitless of all the crazy things that are going to happen to them when they really aren't. When, you know, we should be more interested in having roadside assistance and life insurance and a proper will and, a rainy day slush fund and maybe a full tank of gas in your car and a pantry, that kind of stuff, instead of pinpointing on some remote possibility down the road. And if you get all that other stuff planned and you want to go after something that you view as important to yourself, great. But don't lose the forest for the trees, folks. Don't be scared shitless about a conflict that maybe, yes, could happen, maybe won't, but is all the way across the world. Spend some time and look after the things that really matter to you. Simple as that. So I hope you guys like that little look there at I read it on the internet. Let's slide on into the next segment.
Nothing like eating under an open sky, even if it is radioactive.
Dropping the dime on precious metals. So this is where we take a look at precious metals, and simple as that. I'm not selling you any precious metals. I wouldn't sell you any of them that I have because I like to buy precious metals. But either way, been a few weeks since I've had anything of interest to share on precious metals. A couple weeks ago, I mentioned in passing that some of the states were passing laws to ban sales tax on precious metals. Well, if you live in Kentucky, where you would think, hey, they might not want to tax your precious metals, hang in there. Kentucky governor plans to continue to collect sales tax on gold and silver despite new law. Here you go. This is written by Tyler Durden. If you don't know, he's a soap magnate. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear has decided he's going to continue collecting sales tax on the sale of gold and silver despite a new law repealing the levy and an attorney general opinion calling his line item veto of the provision unconstitutional. The provision defines bullion, bars, ingots, or coins, which are made of gold, silver, platinum, palladium, or a combination of these metals. Byron Roberts, I usually don't jump back and forth here in the comments, but I had to. Brian Roberts says our governor's an idiot. Based on this, I'm going to guess you're probably correct. Value based on the content of the metal and not its form, and used or have been used as a medium of exchange, security, commodity, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the House passed the bill, and it says currency is defined as a coin currency made of gold, silver, palladium, or other metal or paper money that has been used as legal tender and is sold based on its value as a collectible item rather than the value of a medium of exchange. So in other words, they basically passed a law that says if you're buying, gold, silver, palladium, platinum, any of those things as a store of wealth, you're not going to get taxed on it. If it's a collectible, that's a different story. Most people say he's not within his constitutional rights to veto that one thing. I didn't actually know that line item vetoes was a thing where you can go in and cross out the lines you don't agree with, and you're like, we're not going to do it. So anyhow, at the moment, the House in Kentucky passed that bill 34-0, but the governor's like, hold up, wait a minute. I still want my my tax dollars. So sorry, Byron, Kentucky's a beautiful place with tons of bourbon, but right now you still got to pay, you're supposed to pay sales tax on precious metals. Rachel Brown says baby preppers are better than the oblivious, what can you do but go with it? 100%. Baby preppers are on the right feet, on the right step. And a lot of those baby preppers came in through maybe some fear mongering, and we're like, okay, calm down. You don't have to be absolutely scared shitless here. It's okay. The world's been here for a long time. It's going to be here for a long time after us. It's not going to end tomorrow. So what can we start with, folks? All right. What do we have next? This one here, I do not have a segment transition, a stinger clip, whatever you want to call it for this yet. But this was sent to me. The name was sent to me. We're gonna call this segment the Faraday Cage, and this is where we take a weekly look at tech that may or may not relate to prepping. And this one is interesting. It actually reminded me a fair bit of a Simpsons episode, and I know it's pretty cool to say that the Simpsons predicted the future, but as we go into this, see if anybody remembers what episode it may have played into. So this comes from the Cool Down. It's actually, it's a bit of an environmental focused news source, but I've found some really cool stories on here over the years. Really enjoyed the writing style. Former SpaceX member explains how his company plans to keep solar farms running through the night. Sunlight as a service from space. And no, they're not going to pull up big diesel generators and charge up the battery banks. Nope. They have something a little bit different. Here we are. Reflect Orbital has an idea that could potentially offer short periods of daylight to locations on Earth after dark. As Clean Technica reported, While the concept is primarily being pitched as solar power on demand, the company has other use cases in mind. The CEO of Reflect Orbital, a former propulsion engineer who worked on the Crew Dragon components at SpaceX, sees his company as a viable business opportunity to expand access to the renewable resources, blah, blah, blah. Insert buzzword here. Solar power has obvious intermittency issues. No shit. I'm just going to go there because the sun's gone 12 hours a day or more. Anyhow, since the Earth rotates, much of the planet is in the dark for long periods of time. Novel energy storage methods using thermal tech and abundant natural materials are already being developed to store energy gathered during the day for later use, but that doesn't increase generation. So, yes, you're right. Hang in there, guys. You got to hear this. This is pretty incredible. As Clean Technica detailed, the new concept aims to deploy satellites into a sun-synchronous orbit at about 600 kilometers, 373 miles, above the Earth, in order to direct the sun's power to solar panels on the ground after the sun has already gone down. Each satellite would have tightly stretched 10 by 10 meter mylar sheets, roughly 33 square feet per side, for maximum reflectivity. If the company can get 57 satellites into an orbital array outside the shadow cast by the planet itself, it could theoretically provide an extra 30 minutes of sunshine anywhere in the world, as Clean Technica shared, saying it's sunlight as service from space. So, anybody see any problems with this whatsoever? Let me just, here, Mr. Burns blocks the sun. Anybody seen this before? There you go. There it is. I know it's hard to see right now. This is the opposite of that, but this is the little dial that Mr. Burns created to put up into the sky to block the sun. Same kind of thing, in a way. So what I'm seeing is, I'm just going to spitball it out there, but what I see is, hey, we're going to supply you with X amount of extra hours of solar. All of a sudden, so-and-so paid us more, so we're going to redirect that sunlight to someone else. Now, all of a sudden, the city, the town that required that sunlight can no longer get it. And it's anyway, I'm not going to go as far as saying that they're going to block the sun. I don't necessarily think that, but holy shit. I just think there has got to be so many more cost-effective ways to store. Like, I've heard Sean Mills say it many, many times. You're way better off to increase capacity. And that's what I'm thinking. Wouldn't it be a metric shit ton cheaper to just build 10% or 20% more solar panels and then find a cheaper way to store it, like gravity batteries or things like that? I don't know. And like Chris Dixon says, how much is 20 minutes more of sunlight? Probably $20 billion. I have no idea. And Chris also says, like, there isn't enough light pollution as it is. Again, I know. I mean, I remember many years ago reading an article about a valley, I think it was in the Italian Alps, I believe, where they would, for certain parts of the year, could get no sun because of where their town was in the valley. And they were looking at setting up a big refractory mirror to shine sunlight down in there to, give them vitamin D and things like that. I could see that. There's more talk about, the altruistic end of things where they're going to pipe sunlight into the North Pole so that people don't aren't affected by seasonal affected depression. I just see so many things that can go wrong with this. I'm a free market kind of dude, but yeah, there you go. So I hope you enjoyed that story because that one really jumped up and got me. And Chris Dixon, got to say, says, loved your video on solar security cams. Y'all got to check it out. Yes, please do. That was my latest video this week. And we also have a video coming up on Friday of a Charvel tactical U.S.-made flashlight. I'm pretty excited about that. And there's going to be a giveaway starting on Friday. They give me a second brand new flashlight to give away. So keep an eye out for that. But either way, yeah, I really enjoyed doing this. And I've also told you before, since we're going away from the Sunday evening shows for at least the foreseeable future, there's going to be 2 review videos a week because, of course, those are the things that make the money, the things that I really, really love doing on top of this Thursday podcast. So keep an eye out. You'll see a lot of good reviews lately. All right, what do we got next? Let's go back to the big screen, Tim. There we are. Now you can see my on the air sign and the cool poster that Ravenwood Acres sent me. Thank you very much. Next, what do we have for you guys? We have This Week in the Workshop. And what is This Week in the Workshop? But where I share what I've done for accountability and hopefully inspiration, I guess. It's been a good week. Spent yesterday sweating my baguettes off. outdoors we're working on. Well, I'll tell you a little more about it as time goes on. But first off, I ordered new high beams for my Ram because the new Rams have some of the absolute worst lights I have seen in a long time. However, the ones I got were actually low beam. So I now have LED low beams and incandescent or halogen high beams, but the new high beam showed up today. So there you go. So I'll be one of those dicks that everybody flashes again, but I cannot stand the little bit of light that those new high beams. Oh, anyway, last Friday after the show, I did a bunch of work over at the 12 unit. We got a dishwasher installed, fixed a sink that totally wasn't working the way it's supposed to, hung some blinds, changed some lights, hung some curtains, made another punch list of a bunch more stuff to do. Yeah. We had a sewer line cleared out at another rental, not one I own, but one I look after. It was great. It was $300. We thought we had it cleared. Dude said he got all the way to the street. A few days later, it backed up again. So we now have a company coming in to dig the entire thing up and replace both the sewer and the water line. Sucks, but there you go. I shared a picture this week in the Telegram group, if you don't follow there, of a cool little mini tackle box. And Letty Lou, if you're listening, she shared some pictures of one she did herself. These, I think, actually, I saw them on Instagram. Becky's like, oh, I've seen them on Temu. So we ordered a couple just to test them out. But they're just little tackle boxes, small clamshelled ones, and they come with labels for your common over-the-counter medicines. So it's like a little OTC medicine chest that you can keep in your purse, in your truck, all of those things. So really cool. I spent Friday night and Saturday. So Friday last week was a busy, busy day. We spent Friday night and all day, well, most of the day Saturday, cleaning out that front shed. And I've shared with you guys my plans. That front shed had become a catch-all for junk. And I took a hard line stance on purging. And I got rid of 98% of the stuff that was in there. I realized I hadn't touched it all in well over a year. So it was either donated, given away, or sold. And then when my brother-in-law and everybody showed up for my nephew's birthday party, we lifted the metal shed off, put it on a trailer, and took it over to my son's house. So that's the first step. Next step is cleaning out the sea-can downtown. Third step is building the deck next to the sea-can in the backyard. Step 4 is moving the she shed that Becky gave me over from where it was because I built her a smaller she shed this year. And then that becomes my own personal little hardware store for building maintenance for my property management. So step. You got to have a plan. Every summer I have a plan because if I don't, I get nothing done. What next? Selling a bunch of stuff. So I decided I wanted, if you guys have seen it, the next upgrade I want to make for my review videos is I want a teleprompter. Yes, I know. You're like, what do you need a teleprompter for? Well, trust me, it's just the next upgrade. I'm always saying, 1% better every week. And so I've been looking at the Telegato teleprompter. It's called the prompter, really. And it's $400 Canadian, more than I want to spend on it. So I decided that I was going to clean out my garage, the workshop, find some things in there that I didn't want anymore, and start selling them on Facebook until I make the $400 to buy the teleprompter. Just a way to do it that it doesn't cost me anything out of pocket. I'm at 120 that I fished out of the washing machine today because I forgot it in my pants when I put it in there. So there you go. I'm a third the way there almost. So can't wait for that. That's my next upgrade. Just simply for speeding up the video creating process and for forcing me, I don't want to ruin the show for you, but if you ever notice, I'm usually looking up at the picture, not down at the camera. If I'm looking at the camera right now, you guys can see me looking straight at you. So that's what I want for a few reasons. But anyway, that's my next step. Always save the welder. Yes, the welder's still there. I try. Anyway, we'll get into that. This week I did a review on a solar security camera, which it was a very early, first thoughts test review. And I really enjoyed it. And I've grown to like it even more. But the biggest thing I liked about it was the ease of setup. It was bam, 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 done. I loved it. And also a flashlight's coming up. You'll see that too. David Hosfeld said, you just made me go check the lint trap. Excellent. That's what I do. No. All right. What else we got? Yesterday we rented a Toro Dingo. And if you didn't know what the Dingo was and you thought it was just something that ate your baby, you're wrong. It's kind of a stand on the back earth mover, I guess you would call it, but it also comes with a front auger, which was crazy. It was a lot of fun. I spent all day on that thing. I also taught my son-in-law how to use it, even though I'd never used it before. The entire thing weighs less than 2,000 pounds, comes on a trailer that you can pull with a 2-inch ball. I was surprised at how well it worked. The payload is a little over 500 pounds, which is more than enough for soil. If you're doing gravel, you're going to want to be a little more careful with it. We're digging up. I will show before and after pictures. This is a massive project. Tomorrow we have 1,500 feet of sod coming. So I've got 3 of us working on it tomorrow, but the plan is to finish the retaining wall, get the sod up, and then on Saturday build a new set of steps, put in a railing, clean everything up, and hopefully have Sunday off. But it's going to be an awesome project. I'm really proud of it because we're almost ashamed of the play area in that daycare. And that's because we bought it from an existing person who didn't really take good care of it. And we've been waiting for the right time. We went and had somebody price the job for us, and their labor alone was going to be close to $6,000. Now, is it worth it? I mean, maybe, maybe not, but me and my son-in-law, we already get paid by the business. And I thought, you know what, we can make this work. So we're going to save the company about $6,000 by doing it and doing a better job. So can't wait for it to get here. That's it for this week. As far as this week in the workshop, a lot of good things on the go for sure. Rachel Brown says she was going to rent a dingo, but my buddy offered me a skid loader. I love skid steers. I have used them multiple times in the past, taught myself how to use it. They're great for snow. So they're definitely a more comfortable item than the dingo. The dingo is great if you're working on flat ground, really great on flat ground. But as soon as you're going up and down hills, especially up hills, you then all of a sudden have to really hold on and lean into it to do it, especially 45 degrees or a little bit less. A lot of fun. I loved it. We dug up the side hill, dumped all the dirt up top, peeled up all the grass on the top hill, and then rearranged 5 yards of topsoil that got delivered toward the end of the day. Did all that, and then we jackhammered through 5 holes in the asphalt and then used the 6-inch auger to auger the holes. And it was fun. I'm glad we got it done. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. Yesterday was a hot day, and I'm sure tomorrow will be too. I need to stop for lunch break, and we need to drink way more water. Just saying that out loud so I remember to do it. All right, next, another segment that I don't have a stinger for yet, but it's food for thought. And this one came up when I was on the live stream with Nicole a couple of weeks ago. We were doing the promotion for Self-Reliance Festival, and it was Bear that was on there doing his thing. And for whatever reason, I had this thought. I was like, I got an idea for a show topic at some point. And I titled it 10 Places to Meet Potential Fellow Preppers. And then I ended up with 8, and now I have 9 before I made the show. So it's 9 places to meet preppers. But if you guys have any other thoughts about it, throw them in the comments as we go along. But I got thinking, we always say it's so easy to find fellow preppers on the internet. And, maybe it is. But how hard it is to find fellow preppers in the real world. So I thought, well, what places could you go to? I did a little bit of a topic quiz thing on the community post the other day. It was pretty good. So some of the ones I came up with were first aid courses. Doesn't mean you're going to, but these are kind of like, when you're making sales calls, you get warm calls and cold calls. Well, warm calls mean people are already thinking about that kind of thing. So these are places where the topic of preparedness could definitely be broached, and you might not look like a crazy person. I mean, I look like a crazy person for other reasons, but that's neither here nor there. First aid courses. So if you're going to your local St. John Ambulance, Red Cross, whatever it is, especially if you're taking the longer first aid courses, like the emergency wilderness, first aid, that kind of stuff, or say want to check people's courses, those would be the places where you definitely find somebody. How about off-roading clubs? or overlanding clubs for people with, Jeeps and that sort of thing. There is a big overlap in overlanding. Oh man, an overlap in overlanding and prepping. I mean, those folks know how to take care of themselves. They know how to pack a vehicle to bug out. They know how to fix things on the side of the road or the side of the non-existent road in the middle of the Mojave Desert. They're great. And even if they're not completely inclined to be preparedness minded like you would definitely share some thoughts, some commonalities there. How about silver and gold shops? Absolutely. Guaranteed. If you're in, I'm not going to guarantee anything, but I want to tell you, I've yet to go into a place that sells silver and gold bullion and talk to somebody who didn't at least have a bit of concern for where society was heading or where the government was doing that kind of stuff. How about auction houses? Now it's a little bit more of a, a stretch here, but this is I know Chris Dixon loves going to auctions, and I've been known to go to them at times, but you can watch and see what people are buying. And if you see people buying things that you're like, wonder why they're buying that cream separator, or I wonder why they're buying that freeze dryer, whatever it happens to be, you might say, we might have something in common. Gun shops, I mean, that should go without saying. Shooting ranges, gun shops, all those places. Hanging out by the ammo vending machines at an Alabama grocery store, that kind of stuff. In-person events, this one should go without saying, but you could go to homesteading events, you could go to back to the land, gardening. There's a lot of prepping adjacent events you could go to where you could meet some interesting folks, right? How about the Legion or the VFW? Those are places, that prepping in general tends to have a higher percentage of ex-forces or ex-military people than anywhere else. So I just picked those two simply because you have a better chance of meeting somebody like-minded there. And then finally, I added church. And this would definitely be the case if you're Mormon. Probably more the case if you were, say, a Southern evangelical, that sort of thing. But overall, there tends to be a bit of an overlap, again, with the church community and preparedness. So, yeah, those are the 9 places that I could come up with for meeting preppers in real life. Rachel Brown says, I'm still trying to find people for a Bitcoin meetup around Allentown, Berks County. Well, we will shout it out for sure. If anybody is in the Allentown, Berks County, PA area, Rachel Brown is trying to put together a Bitcoin meetup. And she's also selling you a bridge. No, I'm just kidding. But no, seriously, she's trying to get together for it. So how about this? Mike, our loco prepper, said our main prepper group partnered, with our annual 4x4 Overland Expo, another weekend activity for the newbies. We're playing looky-loos. Yes, absolutely. How about Dixon? Coffee at the local coffee shop. Takes a while to get accepted, but you learn a pile by sitting down and shutting up. Brother, you are correct. Actually, that is how I met a couple who I used to do a lot of work for, who ended up paying me in gold, silver, and firearms, all legally acquired. So it was great just by listening to people, because pretty quickly you start picking up on the language, don't you? And the certain words, that kind of stuff. Rachel Brown says, let's hear it for redneck gun clubs. Absolutely. And L2 Survive. Anyone with a tube of chapstick? Tim, you're having a night tonight. Let's try that again. Anyone with a tube of chapstick or $20 in their pocket is a prepper to some point. Finding a prepper at your level is what is hard. P.S. You forgot ham radio clubs. You're right, I did. I even had that in my head when I was doing it before. Thank you very much, brother. So we're going to rename that list. 10 places to meet potential preppers. How about that? Ham radio clubs. There you go. Top 10. So maybe I'll have to turn that into a TikTok or something at some point. Yeah, I don't know. But yes, thank you, L2 Survive. Always love having you on here. You always make me smile. And you're right. I love that little thought. Anyone with a tube of chapstick or $20 in their pocket is a prepper to some point. Why'd you have to put so many P's in that comment? Anyhow, there you go. So that was good. All right. Coming right up is...
It's the apocalypse. End of days. The judgment day. The end of the world, my friend.
Let's dig into the community mailbag. So we have the community nail bag, where we dip into our nail bag and we see what we pull out, or our mailbag, however you want to call it. And this is where I share some of my favorite feedback from the general community and fellow delinquents of the last week. So if you've noticed, I've been running community posts regularly. Everything on the channel now comes out at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Everything. Review videos, live streams, and community posts. I've been having a hell of a time with community posts. Been getting a ton of feedback, a lot of interaction, and it's something that YouTube is really pushing right now, and it's something that fits into the branding of my channel. So I picked, let me see, I got three of the main polls from the last couple of weeks I've done. First one, only 2 options, and you can only choose one, fixed or folding. And it was closer than I thought. But fixed blade came out on top with 59%. As of this evening, we had 102 votes, which was pretty good. Next, I also asked the community at large, is a Costco membership worth it? And as you can imagine, the answer comes back a resounding it depends. However, we did have 164 votes this week on that one. 48% said yes. So your guys are as addicted to Costco as I am. 27% says it depends on what you buy. And 7% says I prefer Sam's Club. And if you notice the percentages don't add up, I don't pick the answers. I don't pick all of the answers to share. And finally, we set a new personal best on the workshop this week. I asked a question last week, how many flashlights do you own? And we had a record 233 votes from that. 29% have 5 or less, and a resounding 36% have over 10 flashlights. Dude, I probably have over 10 flashlights in my side drawer in my bedroom. I have a real problem with flashlights. Rachel Brown says, just got a email about prepping for Hurricane Debbie. Is that going to be a serious issue? Do we know? Because is it something that warrants me making a video about? I haven't checked into Hurricane Debbie yet and how close it is to making landfall, but I can definitely tear into that later on. Loco says, we have a lot of power and water interruptions in the megalopolis. So when you aren't affected, neighbors' friends are very interested. Absolutely. Chris Dixon says, flashlights and fixed blades. I have a real issue. Hello, folks. I'm, a knife and flashlight addict. Boy, we're all flashlight addicts, aren't we, guys? Oh, shit. L2 Survive says, I have more flashlights than you had votes. Yeah, I believe you. Oh, man. L2 Survive, if you guys haven't subscribed to his channel, you need to. He's got a ton of subscribers, and he gets some really cool shit. There was one flashlight that I think could literally shine through a raccoon. I'm pretty sure that he had on there one day. So let's see. We got, so L2 says, I got more flashlights than you had votes. Said Chris Dixon, flashlights and fixed blades. That almost sounds like a cheesy country song. Flashlights and fixed blades. They both saved my life. All right. David Hosfield says, I'm guilty of the flashlight addiction as well. Byron Roberts says flashlights are electronic crack. Yes, they are. Speaking of Costco, Mike says, my wife is beating me on total pocket knives and flashlight lamps. I'm impressed. And Rachel says, I have a flashlight hanging on every door. Very proud of everybody. Low hanging fruit, right? If you guys, I actually back up a little bit. If you saw my video a few weeks ago about my everyday carry on my keychain, I was pretty proud of that. Well, I've actually made some upgrades and replaced an item recently. So Ryan Buford, formerly known as, well, I guess he's still known as the Prepper Dad of the Next Generation podcast, the now defunct, good friend of mine. He brought me a little kit, or a little piece of kit, last year at Prepper Camp, and it was that USB universal adapter that was on my key ring for almost a year, and it finally broke the other day. After a while, I lost the rubber cap off it, and then the lightning adapter broke, and I'm like, you know what? It's time to find a new one. So I got a new USB-C adapter for my key ring, and then I also picked up a tiny little Gerber multi-tool that fits on my key ring. It's good enough, guys. I really like it. So I guess it's going to be EDC Keyring 2.0 coming up before too long. And Palm says, Toolman Tim over on Telegram, 12 flashlights, probably missing a few. Absolutely. I guarantee you are. And of course, people borrow my flashlights all the time, or I give them away, that kind of thing. But you need exterior illumination, interior illumination, whatever it is. And Rachel Brown says, I like Gerber. I do too. All right. So finally, we've got 3 comments from the YouTube comment gallery this week. And the first one was actually made me smile, and I want to share it with you guys. This one comes from Winning with Warchild from 3 days ago. Said, great videos, Tim. I've really learned a lot from watching your channel. Hurricane Barrel put me in the generator market, but I'm on a tight budget and trying to figure out the bare minimum I can get by with. All I need to run during an outage is a fridge or freezer, a window or portable AC unit for my master bedroom. I can separate the rest of the house. Internet modem, router, various lights, charging stations, 50-inch TV, etc. I'd like to be self-sustainable for 4 to 5 days with these being powered. Now I have friends with whole home Generacs that weren't able to power their regular ACs because of natural gas flow issues here in Texas. Interesting. One bought a window unit and that worked. I would need to pay someone to do an NG hookup and then about 40 feet of line. That would be the easiest, but I can buy canisters for either gasoline or propane. Just not sure where I will store them. Would like your recommendation on the best, cheapest way to get her done. So many ways I can go with that. This is going to turn into a full video down the road. However, I would say Natural gas would be good if you can buy just a standalone natural gas generator. A tri-fuel from Costco. Again, they run about $1,000, probably overkill for what you need, but you're going to need, 3,000 watt, maybe like a Predator inverter, 3,000, 3,500 max watt generator would work really good, but you're going to have to get it converted to natural gas. There's so many ways you go with this. You could get yourself a 1,500 to 3,000 watt inverter to plug directly into the battery of your car, run your vehicle, keep your tank topped up, and then alternate through fridge, freezer, portable AC. Or you could buy yourself a cheap battery bank and run all of your electronics and LED lights. It really wouldn't take a lot to be self-sustaining for 4 to 5 days, guys. I'm going to go further into this down the road, but man, there was a ton of people brought to our community over the last month because of Hurricane Beryl in Texas. I couldn't believe how long folks were without power down there, guys. It was sad, but here we are nonetheless. Rachel says Harbor Freight has low-priced LED flashlights all the time. Yes, they do. And I do love Harbor Freight, even if it's not in Canada. Next comes from Sivongol 66. I'm not sure. I was caught, and this was in regards to the post I did on the community page asking, have you ever been through a tornado? 3 days ago, I was caught in this is when they posted it, not when it happened, but I was caught in the dust cloud next to an F3 in my truck. And as it went behind me, I had trees going over my head while my truck was bouncing like those Mexican lowriders do with the front tires coming off the ground. Complete darkness in the middle of the afternoon, could only see what the green lightning flashed. All the while I was on my phone with my nephew saying my goodbyes to my family. Scariest day of the life. Hell hath no fury as that of Mother Nature. I was forever changed because of that day. I really appreciate, I shared this simply because I wanted to say Sivongol was great for sharing that. What a crazy story, guys. I don't know if anybody else has ever been in that situation, but that's scary. Anyhow, there you go. And finally, this one came from TMA Fabrication Services. Another comment that just brought an absolute smile to my face. This one's from a week ago. And they said, hey, this was regarding my inverter generator video. Good information. I'm a Duramax generator dealer, and I get this question all the time. Question being, what's the difference between an inverter and a non-inverter generator? So I'm going to be linking to your videos, and it breaks it down to where the average person can understand it. Shout out to TMA Fabrication Services. Thanks for that, man. Or lady. I really don't know. So there you go. Good to, thank you for sharing that. I love getting these compliments, guys. It just kind of makes you feel pretty good. And I wanted to share them with you guys a bit too. So, all right. We have, let's see. Go back into the comments. Off-Grid Ping says, I have the Predator 3500. Great generator. I do too. Actually, my brother-in-law has it at the moment because I did recently pick up the dual fuel. Guys, you have flashlight addictions. Well, I have generator addictions. My wife talked me into buying it. It wasn't my fault, but I do have the Predator dual fuel generator with the remote start and the upgraded wheel kit and all the beauty and the bells and the whistles. Getting ready to do a review on that. I think my brother-in-law is going to end up buying the Predator 3500 from me because he has put all the hours on it and I've put none. And so he's going to come do a couple of follow-up reviews with me on it, but it was time to upgrade. And then somehow I missed in February, at least I believe I did, a tri-fuel generator that Harbor Freight brought out as well. Did anybody else catch that? Because I literally missed it and didn't do anything on the channel for it. So there you go. Yozik, I did not know this, brother. I'm sorry to hear this. Said they're dealing with tons of power outages here in Cleveland right at the moment. I don't want to jinx it or anything, but we're blessed here in Alberta. We have so few power outages. It's incredible, but got to be prepared for it either way. L2 Survive says, search YouTube for EG4 mobile solar cart. Oh, Will Prowse, man, I love his channel. 3 kilowatt inverter and 5 kilowatt battery. Will do. That is great, guys. Check that out if you think of it. And Ed Celio, I think you might be just a little behind on the live this evening, Ed, and it's great to have you either way. Says the Mojave Desert is the side of the road for me. Well, stay safe out there, would you? And Rachel Brown says, Hurricane Sandy taught us how much of my preps can be moved. In half an hour, we could have gone months. Good for you, Rachel. I mean, it sucks that you had to deal with it, but good for you. And Yozik says tornado stuff. Also, yeah, that sucks. I didn't realize that. I guess it is Ohio, isn't it? But you know what they say? Cleveland sucks, and apparently it blows too. Oh, Tim, stop with the dad jokes. My goodness. All right, folks. So that kind of wraps up this week in prepping. I really enjoy doing these Thursday shows. It's a lot of fun. I kind of look forward to it. So, yeah, going forward, tomorrow I have is tomorrow Friday? Tomorrow is Friday. Tomorrow we have the new video dropping for the tactical flashlight. I'm really excited about that. It was a lot of fun. It more than exceeded my expectations. I definitely do my best to try to break it in the video, so enjoy that for sure. Yes, Cleveland rocks. It doesn't suck. I know. I'm sorry. That was mean, Yozek. That was awfully mean, and I didn't mean it. But yeah, so that's coming up. And like I said, we've made a few changes here. So we're going to 2 review videos a week, 1 live stream on Thursdays. I had to move things around because because that's life. It is what it is. I have all my life. No, back up, Tim. Since we've started our entrepreneurial venture, I've always said, go after the things that are bringing the biggest return, and the daycare is huge for us, and you know that, so that's where we're heading. So tomorrow I'm going to spend the day up there. Probably Saturday I'm going to spend the day up there finishing the job. Hopefully I have Sunday off, and then back up Tuesday, Wednesday again. And man, what a great summer. It's gone fast. I hope you guys have had a great time. We are well into the second half. We're actually into the August, September, October, November. Nope, not yet. All right. At the end of this month, we'll be into the third of 2024. So there you go. And my dogs are saying hello just as we end up here, guys. So I appreciate the hell out of you. Thanks for coming in. I hope you love these Thursday episodes. If you have stories you want to share with me, any ins and the outs that you'd love to see featured on this show, send them to me through Telegram. Send them to me through email, therealtimcook@gmail.com. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.